There are more unique Minecraft worlds than there are grains of sand on the planet Earth. More than stars in the entire Milky Way galaxy. More than seconds that have passed since the Big Bang, or cells in the human body. There are, this many potential unique Minecraft worlds. In English, that's 18.4 quintillion, or 18 with 18 zeros following it. If you were to create a new world every second, it would take you 585 billion years to create and explore every single possible seed, which is roughly 42 times the approximate age of the universe. It's a number so massive that it approaches meaningless absurdity. It may as well be a fairy tale or a myth because my brain is simply not equipped to comprehend a number that large. And yet here you are. You picked one. Maybe you typed in a specific number or simply hit enter and let the game generate a new world for you, but out of 18.4 quintillion possible worlds, this is the one you got. This is your world. It feels kind of personal when you put it that way, doesn't it? Each one of these worlds is a unique yet familiar array of millions of simple blocks arranged into landscapes, biomes, and structures that the player has access to. Each one is a self-contained digital world to explore and to create within. But before you can thrive, you must survive. The first thing Minecraft does before you've punched a tree or place a block is hand you an entire world and say, figure it out. There's no map or direction, just you, a wide open landscape and the creeping awareness that the sun is slowly moving across the sky. Darkness is approaching. Each one drops you, alone and unprepared, into a fresh and unexplored world, dotted with small villages and the vague remnants of ancient inhabitants. Ruins of structures that hint at a forgotten past, unknown and indeed unknowable to the player character. Many have speculated about who may have built these structures, but I don't believe that the who is important. These structures exist whether you find them or not, watching over the pixelated landscape. The silent guardians of unwritten secrets and digital metaphors or unremembered history. But that's a story for another day. The first thing you do is punch a tree. You need wood, and the only way to get it in a brand new world is to smack a tree until it gives you logs. You craft planks, and then a crafting table, and you use that crafting table to make your first tools. A wooden pickaxe, a wooden axe, a wooden sword. In the game it takes only a few minutes, but for our ancestors this process took approximately 2.5 million years. However, the instinct is the same. You spawn into an unfamiliar world with nothing but your bare hands and the raw materials around you, and your first thought is to make something, anything, to take what the world gave you and transform it into something useful. That instinct isn't the product of coding or game design, but something that has existed in the mind of the human species for thousands of years. And to tell this story properly, we have to go back. All the way back. Millions of years ago, our ancestors figured out that they could chip at stones to make rough tools. And with these tools, they could enhance their chances of survival and improve their quality of life. Raw flint and stone were gathered from nature and transformed in the hands of ancient humans into axes, knives, spearheads, and fishhooks. For millennia, these crude stone implements were all that we had to ease the struggle for survival. Every day was an uphill battle against starvation, predation, and infection. And unlike the beasts of the wild, sharp claws and fangs did not come standard in the toolkit of the human body. What we had was a curious brain capable of creation and the willpower to change the world around us. In Minecraft, you could call this the Stone Age. You start with wood, the most basic and abundant resource, and as quickly as you can, you trade it for stone. It's not immediately obvious why, but stone tools are better than wood tools, and you know this without thinking about it. And when you upgrade from wooden tools to stone tools in Minecraft, you feel it. There's a small but genuine satisfaction in that upgrade, a sense of progress, of having moved forward. Imagine being the first human to sharpen a stone and use it. You instantly changed the trajectory of our entire species. That small discovery that sharp is better than blunt would echo forward through every sword, every axe, every knife and scalpel, and every hand up into the current day. Now, I'm not a historian, but I've always found it interesting that the game's tiered progression system is a microcosmic mirror for the evolution of culture and human history. As a species, we possess an unrivaled drive to explore, to create, and to transform. This is the hallmark of human culture across all ages. Without this drive, we would have completely vanished from the archaeological record hundreds of thousands of years ago, a footnote in the grand story of life on Earth. Long before the age of artificial intelligence, before the computer or the creation of the first internal combustion engine, before we built cities, tamed horses, smelted ores, or even grew crops, before history was written, It had to be lived. We will never really know what it took for our ancestors to survive, the difficulty and hardship they faced every time the sun rose, and the horror they must have endured when it set. When monsters still lurked in the dark, just beyond the tree line, we were huddled together in caves in the flickering light and waning warmth of primordial campfires. It's likely that there's a very long history of human interaction with fire spanning more than 1 million years, which probably began as humans collecting the charred remains of forest fires and slowly developed into a practice of carefully gathering embers from active wildfires. But wildfires in nature are unpredictable, and these embers were difficult to gather and to transport, so eventually we would have to learn how to make fire ourselves. The earliest evidence that we have for the intentional control and use of fire comes from nearly 400,000 years ago in Suffolk, UK. There, researchers have discovered heat-fractured flint hand axes and patches of red clay which had been repeatedly subjected to intense heat, indicating that this site wasn't just a one-time campfire, but an ancient hearth that saw continual use over a period of many years. Amongst the debris at the site, archaeologists also noted the presence of small pieces of iron pyrite not native to the area. They speculate that this pyrite was transported there with the express intention of lighting fires. They would sit, cook, eat, and laugh around these fires just as we do today. We can all imagine the experience of sitting around a fire with our friends, the smell of smoke and crackle of embers filling the air. This profoundly human experience is something that connects us, all of us, to our primeval ancestors across deep time. And it's no surprise that the intentional creation of fire was probably the most influential development in all of human history. The hearth was a natural meeting place for the tribe. It provided us with warmth, light, comfort, and community. It allowed us to cook food, which made the raw proteins and plant matter easier to digest. More efficient digestion meant that we had a surplus of energy, which historians postulate may have contributed to the rapid expansion of the human brain. This is when we started perfecting the arts of toolmaking, storytelling, and culture building. This is when complex social bonds began to emerge and the first languages evolved. The growth in cognitive abilities opened the door into abstract thought and unleashed the innate curiosity and creativity that lay dormant in the human collective consciousness. The first time the sun sets in your Minecraft world can be terrifying. As the music shifts and the shadows lengthen, you begin to see the shape of monsters lurking beyond the limits of your torch. The reaction in your brain is visceral, animal. You must get inside. You must build walls and make fire. You will be safe by the fire. That instinct is 1.5 million years old. Just as fire changed everything for ancient humans, fire changes everything in Minecraft too. A torch transforms a terrifying cave into a navigable space. A furnace unlocks an entirely new tier of advancement. You go from punching trees to smelting ore, and suddenly the world opens up and becomes less dangerous. A furnace in Minecraft is a threshold. Everything that comes after it, every metal tool, every piece of cooked food, every glass block and brick and smelted ingot comes from that first decision to put fuel and raw material together and apply heat. Our ancestors made that same discovery. Fire didn't just keep them warm, it reorganized their entire society around a central point of light and heat. The hearth became the first architecture. A campfire became the first community center. And the stories told around it are the threads that tie us back to our human nature. If fire was the first threshold, metal was the second. In Minecraft, after you've exhausted what stone can offer you, you go looking for something better. You dig deeper. You push past the comfortable upper layers of the world into darker, stranger territory. And down there, embedded in the stone, you find iron. You bring it back to your furnace, back to the fire, and you smelt it. And just like that, you've crossed into a new age. Our ancestors took longer, but the journey was the same. The human eye has always been drawn to things in nature that glitter and glow. Eye-catching, we call them. Many have speculated that the evolutionary reason for this is that we associate those things with ripe fruits. To the primitive brain, the apple and the ruby might as well be the same thing. One is just more nutritious than the other. Gold shimmers in the riverbed, and early humans began to gather this shiny metal. Since gold is extremely soft and easy to manipulate, they began the process of cold hammering these gold nuggets into ornate designs and status symbols. Beautiful, but quite useless in the wild. This is where copper comes in. Copper is slightly harder than gold, but still soft enough to be manipulated easily while in its raw state. Using existing stoneworking techniques, they hammered copper and malachite into small items such as beads and pins. And then something happened that changed everything, probably by accident. Recent discoveries dating to around 8000 BC in the Upper Tigris Valley region of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, revealed copper in minerals that had been subjected to intense heat, suggesting a very primitive type of pyrometallurgy, or smelting. It's likely that the discovery of smelting was unintentional, as minerals like malachite would be heated in kilns and the naturally occurring copper would be drawn out of the rock. This era coincides with some of the earliest evidence we've found for widespread agriculture and farming. The intentional production of grain and husbandry of animals allowed humans to transition from nomadic hunter-gatherer societies to permanent city-like settlements. And permanent settlements meant permanent workshops, permanent furnaces, artisans who could specialize in a single craft their entire lives and pass that knowledge to their children. The most definitive evidence of large-scale intentional copper smelting comes from one of these settlements in Yamuk Tepe, Anatolia, dating to around 5000 BC. There, archaeologists have discovered primitive blast furnaces capable of reaching temperatures over 1,985 degrees Fahrenheit or 1,085 degrees Celsius, the melting point of copper. The site also contained evidence of casting molds, carved into the stone or made from clay, where the molten metal would be poured and left to cool. Metalsmiths would then break the copper out of the mold to hammer and grind the ingots into usable tools such as axes and chisels. This complex production line required an interconnected set of trade routes and an artisan class with advanced knowledge of fire and metalworking, all under the control of the local elite. Metalsmiths in the Levant eventually discovered that by adding arsenic or tin to the molten copper, they could create a stronger and more reliable alternative: bronze. The production of bronze tools and weaponry exploded across the entire Mediterranean region during the 3rd millennium BC, leading to the establishment of some of the most powerful Bronze Age empires and cultures. In Greece, Egypt, and the ancient Near East, bronze became the standard for manufacturing tools and armor. This extensive network required administrative specialists to track shipments, merchants to sell and trade goods across vast distances, and skilled weaponsmiths to work the raw materials into usable goods. Within this structure, we can see similarities with many modern logistic and manufacturing networks. The Bronze Age is the root of modern worldwide commerce. These cultures and empires flourished and grew over a period of 1800 years, until most of them collapsed around the year 1200 BC. Historians are still unsure what exactly caused this period of decline, often called the Bronze Age collapse, but there are many theories. The most likely explanation is a combination of factors such as drought, famine, earthquakes, and mass migrations, simultaneously straining the fragile and interconnected systems which these societies relied upon to function effectively. Tin to make bronze was not native to the Mediterranean and had to be imported from either Afghanistan or the British Isles, and bronze production slowed to a crawl. It's a sobering reminder that complexity is also fragility. The more sophisticated your systems become, the more points of failure they contain, a challenge that Bronze Age kings and modern supply chain managers both face equally. But from the ashes of the Bronze Age, something new was emerging. Smiths had been experimenting with a new ore, more abundant, more difficult to work, but potentially far superior to anything that came before it: iron. The Hittite Empire is often credited with the earliest known evidence of intentional iron smelting. However, there are earlier sites that indicate human experimentation with the ore from as early as 2200 BC. A dagger found in the tomb of the pharaoh Tutankhamun was famously crafted from meteoric iron. Fallen space rock of an iron-nickel alloy fashioned into a weapon and status symbol buried with the king. Iron that literally fell from the sky, treated as sacred, as magical, because at the time it basically was. But smelting iron properly required a much higher temperature than copper, over 1250 degrees Celsius. And even then it didn't produce liquid metal, it produced what's called a bloom, a spongy red-hot mass of iron and impurities that has to be hammered for hours to turn into anything usable. This method, called bloomery, would remove the impurities and excess material, called slag, and consolidate the red-hot bloom into workable wrought iron. And here's what still astonishes me about this process. Because charcoal was present in these furnaces, carbon would fuse with the iron during the smelting and hammering process. The smiths didn't fully understand what was happening, but the result was a harder, more resilient alloy. They had accidentally invented steel. Not through planning or investigation, but repetition, observation, and intense physical labor. Doesn't that sound familiar? In Minecraft, iron is the material that changes everything. Diamond might be the ultimate prize, but iron is the point where the game truly opens up. Iron armor, iron tools, iron doors, and anvils and minecart tracks. Iron is the material of civilization in Minecraft, and it was the material of civilization in human history too. This is when we started on the path to becoming what we are today. Without fire, we would never have made it out of the wilderness. Without agriculture, we would never have been able to build a stable home. And without metal, we would never have built anything worth staying for. But here's what I think is most interesting. Every single development I've described, fire, copper, bronze, iron, agriculture, the city, the trade route, the empire, none of it happened because somebody sat down and planned it. None of it was the result of a single genius working in isolation. It happened because knowledge was passed between people, parent to child, elder to apprentice, tribe to tribe, across vast distances and deep stretches of time. But writing had not become commonplace yet. Think about that for a moment. Everything I just described, 2 million years of human development, from the first chipped stone to the first smelted iron, happened before anyone wrote a single word of it down. The entire foundation of human civilization was built on knowledge that existed only in human memory, passed mouth to ear across countless generations. So how did it survive? How did the knowledge of which plants were safe to eat make it from one generation to the next without a manual? How did the techniques for smelting copper travel from Anatolia to Egypt to Greece without a textbook? How did the locations of water sources, the patterns of animal migration, the warning signs of a bad winter, how did any of this get preserved across thousands of years before anyone thought to write it down? The answer is the oldest technology in human history. Older than the wheel, older than agriculture, older than fire, arguably. Story. Not story in the way we use the word now, entertainment, fiction, something you consume and set aside, but story as a technology, story as a memory system, story as the most efficient, most emotionally resonant, most durable container for information that our species has ever developed. A story is memorable and relatable. We latch onto characters and ideas in stories because they tell us something true about ourselves. And this, to me, is where Minecraft becomes genuinely profound. Because Minecraft doesn't give you facts. It doesn't explain why iron is better than stone, or why you need to eat, or why the darkness is dangerous. It just puts you in a world and lets you discover those things through experience, through story, through your story. Every Minecraft world is a story waiting to be lived, as every human life always has been. Okay, so what does any of this have to do with Minecraft specifically? It's not that deep, bro. There are plenty of other survival games, many of which are more historically accurate. I know. But, dear viewer, wander with me for a moment. Because I believe that historical accuracy is not the same as emotional impact or mythic relevance. Before the first systems of writing, knowledge was exclusively spread through myth and oral tradition. Many of the oldest stories that we have access to, such as Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, started this way. They were legends recited from memory and preserved in the collective consciousness of our culture. They were written as poetry because poetry is pleasing to the ear and easy to remember. Yet they retained a small degree of historical truth. In the Western canon of literature, these are some of the oldest stories that we have access to. But this type of storytelling is not unique to the West. Every culture has its foundational myths. So it stands to reason that this mythical storytelling trend was a staple in and fundamental building block of the entirety of human culture across time. Think about the stories that have survived the longest in human culture. They're almost never the technically accurate ones. They're the ones that are emotionally true. The ones that capture something real about the human experience and wrap it in an image vivid enough to survive 10,000 years of retelling. Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. He was punished for it eternally. Whether or not you believe that literally happened, it contains a truth that our Stone Age ancestors understood instinctively. Fire is dangerous, fire is powerful, fire changes everything, and the knowledge of fire comes at a cost. That is a true story, even if it never happened. Perseus slew the Gorgon, Gilgamesh sought immortality and found only the acceptance of death. Odysseus spent 20 years trying to find his way home. These stories aren't documentaries, but they contain something that documentation can't capture, the feeling of what it is to be human, afraid and brave simultaneously, reaching for something beyond your grasp, trying to find your way back to somewhere that feels like home. Every culture on Earth has these stories, every single one. And when you map them against each other, the Greek myths, the Norse sagas, the stories of the Lakota, and the ancient Vedic texts, you find the same themes emerging over and over again. The hero leaves home, faces the unknown, is tested, and returns changed. Joseph Campbell spent his entire career documenting this pattern and called it the monomyth, the hero's journey. His argument was that this story structure isn't a cultural invention, it's a human constant. It emerges from the same place in every culture because it emerges from the same place in every human being. And I would argue that the reason you feel something when you finally step through the end portal for the first time, that strange mixture of excitement and dread, is because that story is already written inside you. You've known it your whole life. Every story you've ever loved was a version of it. You leave the known world, you enter the unknown, you face what lives there, and if you survive, you come back different. That's Minecraft, that's the Odyssey, that's the story your great-great-great ancestor told around a fire 60,000 years ago in a language we will never speak and can barely imagine. The story is the same, even if the language and culture around it changes through time. We truly love our myths. Even if they aren't factually true, they are metaphysically true. They unite us all and help us to remember what it means to be human. I often wonder about the legends that were lost to time, forgotten through the ages, never preserved or transmitted into writing. These ancient stories almost certainly laid the basis for our continual cultural evolution and collective survival, and we will never know nor hear them. Even if they were never verifiably true in the traditional sense, these stories exist in a type of truth beyond objectivity. The very bedrock of truth itself is myth. So when I look at Minecraft, I don't see a game about blocks. I see a game about the fundamental human need to take raw materials and make something meaningful out of them. I see a game that drops you into the unknown and trusts you to figure it out. I see a game that rewards curiosity, punishes complacency, and gives you a world that exists entirely for you to leave your mark on. That, to me, is a mirror. The ancient ruins you stumble across in Minecraft, the abandoned mine shafts, crumbling desert temples, the ocean monuments half buried in silt. Those are reminders that something was here before you, that this world has a history that predates your arrival, that you are not the first to pass through and you will not be the last. Every human civilization that has ever risen has eventually become ruins for the next one to discover. The Bronze Age collapsed, Rome fell, the Library of Alexandria burned. And yet here we are, having learned from those ruins, built on top of them, told stories about them. We are just the latest version of something very, very old. And maybe that's why Minecraft resonates the way it does, not just with children, not just with gamers, but with anyone who has ever looked at an empty field and felt the urge to wander through it. Anyone who has ever stood at the edge of something unknown and felt that mixture of fear and excitement. Anyone who has ever sat around a fire and felt, just for a moment, connected to something larger than themselves. That feeling is ancient, and Minecraft somehow, accidentally or deliberately, manages to recreate it in pixels. Without myth, we would not have known what was safe to eat, where to find it, what places might be dangerous, or even how to survive in the wild. We would not have figured out how to tame horses, or craft wheels, or smelt ore into metals. We would not have built cities with standing armies or learned to create an engine. We definitely would never have been able to take the raw materials from the earth and turn them into a computer, essentially teaching an inert rock how to think, nor teach those thinking rocks to communicate with each other around the entire planet, or build programs for these rocks that could create 18.4 quintillion digital worlds made of pixelated blocks, and yet, here we are. We are not that different from our ancestors, truly. We have the same basic human needs, the same innate fears, and the same drive to create and to explore. And these nearly infinite digital worlds give us the opportunity to partake in our own nature from the comfort of our modern homes. Myth is the bedrock of truth, and Minecraft is the myth of human cultural development. This is who we are, who we have always been. Storytellers, creators, and explorers. This is what makes us human. We exist within and participate in the ever-unfolding story of creation. And I think that's pretty cool, man. There may be more Minecraft worlds than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy, but there are a lot more galaxies that we have yet to explore. Thank you for listening.